Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another NIKKE reaction. Today we have Shattered as requested by Snow Joeable, and many people agreed I should listen to this one and another one, but I'm only going to do this one despite it being about 2 minutes, which usually I would do 2 at that length, but given what I had heard last time with Rewrite, I do not want to assume that I won't be yapping to the end about this one. So I'm just going to get into this one, see where it takes me, and expect there to be like 5 minutes of yap by the end of it. So without further ado, let's go! Ooh. Beautiful intro. Ooh, I'm gonna have to look up the lyrics. I thought the piano accent at the beginning doing dissonance was just going to be that, but he's adding it in. Like, the main melody has it in there. I love the pulse this one has. It's doing a 3/4 waltz feel to it. And despite that old feeling, that nostalgic energy it's got, the dancing quality, it's definitely not a happy song. I can pick up that much just from the melody alone. That is so pretty, dude. Something made very clear to me when I was looking at the translation of the lyrics was that this is about the Cinderella character that I was reading about in the comments of my first reaction for Rewrite. People were mentioning how, like, Cinderella is involved in some way, shape, or form. I'm assuming it's a character based around Cinderella and not actually the Cinderella we know, like, just around that story concept, using that as an inspiration for this character. And this song definitely does show a lot of imagery that was making me feel like that because of the glass slipper. That was also translated in the lyrics. I don't know French, so I didn't know that, as well as some other interesting things like shines in the shadow was in there, and I was like, okay, so there's like other things happening here. Sings in the silence. Okay, that alone makes me feel like the character is a tragic story. Something to the effect of they aren't confident in themselves, but not in the way you would think. The song also does that with all the dissonance that was in there, all of these notes, especially on the piano part, especially that spot in the beginning I was talking about, where it had just notes right next to each other that are very crunchy and don't really fit in the chord of the key that was being played, and that's totally fine because it can be used artistically like this to showcase things breaking or things being a little bit off and just not quite right. I talk about it quite often because it's used quite often. It's a great little narrative tool for a musician to get that story point across. The thing is here is that this mixed with the lyrics now changes my perspective from, oh, this is just a tragic story, to this is somebody who is honestly thinking too highly of themselves, or at least did at some point, and that's probably part of their character. The reason that I think that is because the rest of the song around those moments that have that in there, all that dissonance, feels whole, and the rest of the song is gorgeous. So I feel like there is kind of an ego with that. Like, they are beautiful, they are somebody who garners a lot of praise and has basically always been around that, but there's also a part of that that breeds hatred and vitriol that they have to deal with, and probably for good reason. That's kind of where the ego I was mentioning earlier comes in. I feel like this character, at least at one point, was beaten down internally by that, and that's where that whole shines in the shadows, sings in the silence sort of thing happens here, where those character traits are being talked about very metaphorically, but also, yeah, that's her character. The part in the lyrics where she says dreams of the ordinary, lives in hope, also kind of plays to that whole thing about her personality as well. Like, she dreams of having an ordinary life and lives in the hope that maybe that could be the case. Like, she's kind of tired of it, maybe she's tired of the praise, or tired of being some sort of a martyr in some sort of situation, and that's just her personality. And while she's definitely got this like bloated ego in my mind, like the character herself is probably a little pompous with her personality, you know, just kind of the standard mean pretty girl sort of vibe is what I'm getting from her initially. I feel like there's a desire for that to change at some point, but I'm not sure if she knows how to do that either. So she's kind of trapped in her own mind palace in a way, where she's hoping that she can be seen as a normal person, and being held up on this pedestal while surely she's basking in that glory is also very exhausting for a lot of people. There's plenty of people who are celebrities, even people like Princess Diana in our real world had that sort of a concept. Like, sometimes people just don't want to be in the limelight, but they have to hide that thought away because it's not normal for them to think that way, and that is kind of a tragic concept. The fact that somebody isn't allowed to be who they want to be and be able to pursue their own interests and the thoughts that they have because of the expectation of who they are and how beautiful they are, or whatever pedestal people have put them upon, that can be very tiring. So I definitely understand that. I also think as a concept, the lyrics in the song are very well done. Pernelle did a great job at, like, what I think is really cool about this one is that each fragment of the lyrics, they're just straight up statements. Like, it's not trying to piece together really like a through line of the story at all. There's no like connective parts unless you know? So like, that's kind of intriguing too. Just the fact that it's sentences and they're all kind of ambiguously about the character, floating around them and kind of giving you an idea of what the concept in the story is, but also just not spelling it out for you like a normal song would, just bringing you right through the story. That's a really cool creative decision there. And of course there were other things going on, like visually, that were giving me clues. Like when she lifted up her hands, there was blood on them, literal blood on her hands. Why? Did she lose friends or something at some point? Was it her fault? Is that part of her mental psyche break here? Like, that very well could be, very likely is, but it's just neat to include that sort of thing visually. It, again, visual clues help a lot, and it's usually why I try to not listen to songs with visuals on them, because it kind of ruins things that I try to break down just from the music. But I'm also not exactly against it either. It's just one of those, like, I feel like it's a cheat code in a way, but that kind of gives me an obvious hint to what's going on in the story. But the epic tone behind the whole rest of the song also aids to that. Like, why is this song so epic? Why does it sound like it carries so much importance? Why does it sound almost hectic, like she's about to be attacked or something? Like, why do I hear boss music in a way? It's definitely not. It doesn't have that same sort of energy. It doesn't have the pressure a boss theme has, that oppressive sort of sound. But what it does have is the energy of, I need to get the hell out of here. So I feel like that's also representing her as a character, and again backs up that whole thought I have about her being stuck in this mental space where she's trying to change it but doesn't know what to change about herself in order to approach that properly. So she's constantly in this fight with herself, and that's all happening inside. So the lyrics kind of reflecting her as a person, her mental state, the music reflecting what I feel like is her mental state, and constantly the energy being thrown around in there, the visuals of the blood on her hands, the stress of that memory potentially kind of affecting her as well. There's so much pointing to that this character, Cinderella, for whatever reason, kind of what I said earlier, did something, wants to change, might be a little full of herself, but maybe whatever ended up with the blood on her hands is what changed her perception about who she was and her own importance, like kind of triggered her sense of mortality at a point. Like not morality, maybe that too, but mostly mortality. Like, I've lost people I care about, it's my fault. Maybe I need to check my ego at the door because whatever I did in the past is now haunting me constantly, and I feel like I need to recompense with those decisions that led me here. Even if it wasn't directly her fault, they're still affecting her in the way that she believes that they are. They very well could be her fault. This could be a very first person experience, and this whole process she's going through is very much real to her because it did happen, or she is just blaming herself and it's affecting her in this very profound way. That's my general thoughts here on this character through just this song. I haven't really seen too much else. I think I have listened to one other song with this character. The design seems familiar, but I'm sure it's been a while if I have, not counting if Rewrite was involved with this in any way, shape, or form. I can't remember if she was in that at all visually, but I don't think so. Either way, though, that's my guess on this character. Let me know if I'm wrong or right in any way, shape, or form. Like, correct my mistakes, because I'm sure there are some, but I might be roughly in the path. That's usually what happens when I try to do this sort of thing, so let me know. And if you have any other songs from NIKKE, by all means, drop them in the comments below and I will do my best to get to them as always. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to follow me and support me for more stuff in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!